welcome to the dungeon, everybody. Is the sound coming through okay? I think I had it set wrong yesterday and it was only coming through my microphone. It should be a little louder now. All right, this is episode 35 of Games with Go. We're still working on the RPG project. Last episode we added sound, which hopefully you're hearing right now. Some ambient dungeon noises. Footsteps. Door opening. So that's all working pretty well, and it's easy to add more sounds. So today we're going to work on adding items and maybe some sort of inventory system or a start of an inventory system to the dungeon. So there can be things to find and pick up off of dead monsters. And so I think the way we're going to start is following a similar pattern to what we did with monsters. So with monsters, we made a separate file. And we gave them various properties. They inherit, or they have all of the properties of an entity, so they get the position, rune, and name from the entity struct. Then they have all of the elements of a character: hit points, strength, speed, action points, sight range, for now. So items are going to follow a similar pattern. They're also going to be entities, so they'll have a position, name, and rune. So let's start with that. Let's make a new file inside the game project called items.go. And we'll make it part of the game package. Remember, when you make different files in Go that are part of the same package, it's equivalent to as if they all were in one file. It's only for your own organizational purposes. Hopefully making it a little easier to find what you need when you come back to it later. Okay, so items. We'll make this a capital struct because it's going to be public. Other packages will be able to see this for sure. And we're going to embed the entity struct in it. So it gets position, name, and rune as part of it. Now what else should items have? Let's see. We're going to be able to get their picture from our texture atlas based on their rune. Let's just leave it like this for now. I think eventually items will have something like there might be different types of weapons. So like if it was or types of items, if it was a weapon, you might have attack bonus. If it were armor, you might have armor rating or armor class, and so on. So we'll have to think about how we're going to have different types of weapons. But for now, let's just make it an entity and start storing them and drawing them on the screen. And we'll go from there. So to do monsters, we used if we look at our level struct, we have a map of positions in monsters. And I think we can do the same thing with items. Undefined item. Do we save? Now we have items. So we need to come up with some items to start with, to start playing with. So with monsters, we did little constructors. So let's do the same thing here. We'll do a sword and a helmet for now. So we'll just return a entity. How do we handle? Okay, yeah, we pass a position whenever we want to make one. So position, name, and rune. So we'll do lowercase s. So we'll have a convention for now that any uppercase letters are monsters and lowercase items will be items and portals. Then we'll follow the same pattern for helmet. H. So these are items that contain an entity. So we can declare them like that. All right, let's pick out, let's open up our texture atlas, which is in the UI assets folder, atlas index.txt. And let's map sword and helmet to one of our images. So this is our big sprite sheet, our Dungeon Stone Soup sprite sheet we're using. So here we've got a variety of swords to choose from. Let's start with a simple one. We don't want to start with a level 12 sword there. Let's start with this one. So that is 0, 1, 2, 3 on the x-axis. And then 1489. 46, it looks like, on the y-axis. And we're just using one variety of sword, so that'll be a 1. And now we need a helmet. Saw some earlier. Here we go. We'll start with this one. So this is at 1618. So I'm just dividing by 32 to get the index. So that's 50. And then the y-axis 1172. 36. And 1 again. Okay, so let's place some of these in our dungeon. I'm going to get rid of this up staircase because it doesn't actually go anywhere. We'll replace that with a sword. Put a helmet up here. Then we need to make sure our levels can load those and put them into our items map. So that'll be in the load levels function. And this is our big switch statement that looks for the different characters. So I'm going to do these just below the portals because they're kind of similar. So it'll be a So we're going to do this just like with monsters, where we set the rune to pending, so it's going to figure out what floor tile to make it later, and then we'll add a new item to the items map. So level.items for the current position goes the new sword. You know what? We can save a lot of typing here if we just make a position. Oh, we need to do that in here. And this can just be position. Capital pending. That's a little nicer. Okay, and we do the same thing for helmet. Then last step, we need to actually initialize our items position. Okay, so now the game should have items, but we need to render them in our UI. So same way that we iterate over the map of monsters, we'll do that for items too. We check to see if the spot is visible. Get the source rectangle from the texture atlas. And then copy it to the buffer. It'll be the same destination rectangle logic. Renderer. All right, let's see what we get. All right, there's a helmet. And there's a sword. And they even have nifty shadows. That's kind of cool. So at the moment, there's no interaction at all. They're just there. So now we need some way to pick them up. And there's some different options. We could just make them pick up automatically, as in games like Doom. Or we can have a little interface where when you get to a spot that has items on it, it could show it maybe down here, and then you can optionally click on it to move it to your inventory. So let's plan for that kind of approach, because it's much more interesting if you kind of have to pick and choose what you're going to pick up, rather than just always getting something you walk on top of. So to set up for that, players are going to need items too. So that we can put them in our inventory. So let's go to the character struct, and we'll make an inventory part of the character, because monsters might have an inventory as well. So if a monster's got some stuff on it and you kill it, then you can get those things. Those things will maybe be dropped on the floor or whatever. So let's try that. Let's just say that we'll have an array of items. As part of every character. So that's going to start out empty, at least for us now. And then we'll need some way to pick up an item. So we'll need a function that can take an item, remove it from the level, and put it in the character. So let's call that maybe a move item. And that'll be, probably makes sense for that to be a method on the level. So we'll say move item to a character. Okay, and we'll say that at least in this function, at least, we're only going to allow moving items into your inventory if you're standing on top of it. We might later want to do other things where you could maybe use magic to grab an item at a distance, but we'll say this one only works if you're on top of it. So we'll check first to see if the character is there. So we'll take the position, and we'll say if we're requesting an item that we're on top of, we make sure that it's in there. Then we'll proceed. And then we will remove that item from the inventory. So we'll say level.items delete. How does the map delete work? Okay, it works like this. We give it the key in the map. So we say delete from level.items. And that would be the key. So one problem I see we're having here is we're probably going to want to have the possibility for more than one item existing on a tile at a time. You know, for instance, if this rat had 2 things on him and you killed him, there need to be 2 things there. So really what we need to do is this should probably be a slice of items at each position. That makes things a little more complicated, but that's okay. So we're going to go to, let's see, lots of things we need to change. So level load be the first thing we need to change. Load level. And this is now a slice of items. And we're going to say that the slice of items is equal to, so we get the slice of items from the map, and then we're going to append we'll actually need to do it like this. Level.items equals append right, because append is going to make a new slice, and we got to put that new slice into the map, replacing the old one. So same thing for helmet. And then when we render, now we're getting a slice of items. And we'll iterate over each item in the slice. For item range items. So at this point we should, I think, work again. No. $126. It's just our move function doesn't work right now. Okay. Back to working. Good. All right. So now we need to be able to move the item into our inventory. So we need to get the items from that position. And then we need to see if the item being requested is actually in there. So if, oh, these have the same name now. Let's call this item to move. And something to keep in mind here is that because these are pointers to items, when we check equality, it's going to check to see if it's pointing to the same chunk of memory. So even if you ask to move if you ask to move a sword that was identical to another sword, it's going to actually only get in here if it's the same instance of that sword. So it's not doing value semantics for the equality. It's checking the pointer. Okay. So if we do find the item that we want to move on top of us, then we're going to do it. So first thing we need to do is remove this from the slice. So what is a Golang I am highly unpracticed at slice syntax. Someone once told me that it's really simple because it's exactly the same as Python. And I've never done Python, so it makes sense. Okay, so there's two ways. If you want your slice to stay in the same order, you can do it one way. And if you don't care about retaining order, you can do it another. Let's go ahead and retain order because we might care about that later. So let's see what this is doing exactly. So we're just appending to the slice that is all of the items up to the one we're going to delete. And then we're appending to that all of the ones after the one we're going to delete. That makes total sense. What is the ... for? Oh. Because this is referring to more than one item. So the trick Golang has to let you do that, because normally this would just be one item that you would append. The trick that Golang lets you do is the ... here makes this equivalent to saying a of I plus 1, a of I plus 2, a of I plus 3, and so on. So it's like a shorthand to mean that. Why is this all busted? Oh, I was doing some other language syntax there. Items. Okay, so that will delete the item we're moving from the slice, and we need to update the map with that new slice. And then we need to take the character items and add the item. So just to test this, we're going to do the simple approach. We're walking over an item. It's just going to pick it up just to test it. So anytime we move, once we successfully move, we'll call let's see, we'll see if items is equal to level dot items of our current position, and if, then we'll call move item level.move item items of 0 to player's character. Address of player's character. All right, and let's just do a printf up here. Make sure we're calling it. Let's see what we get. We did it. We picked it up. Now to further test this, let's print the player's items to see if that is actually growing properly. So we'll say so we'll print the player items array after we pick something up. Okay, we printed the pointer. Let's dereference the pointer. We can't do that. Why can't we do that? I guess because it's a slice. There's not a built-in slice print. Or I'm not doing it right. So we'll just loop for item. Make a little tab, and it'll just be item. All right, we got a helmet. Now we have a helmet and sword. Easy. Okay, so now we want to start building some kind of UI for showing these things so we can pick them up with the mouse or something, or a keystroke combination. So what I'm thinking is we've got our event stuff on the left, so we could start showing the items that are on the ground under us on the right, and maybe we just keep drawing this way for however many items there are. So we'll start at the far right and draw this way. So first, let's just try drawing using exactly their icons. So we'll want to do this in UI 2D. And we'll want to draw it after we've driven or drawn everything else. So this is all the event stuff. Let's put some comments in here so we can this might be stuff we start pulling into separate functions later, because it's gonna get they're gonna get bigger and bigger. This actually is here. Render items. Render monsters. This renders the map tiles. All right, that just makes it a little easier to see what's going on. So then we'll do inventory UI. Okay, so first thing we'll want is a list of the items the player is on top of. And then we will iterate over those. And draw them. So but in this case, we're not going to draw them based on the map position, but going from right to left. So the Y position is always going to be do it at the bottom, minus 32, so there's room for the tile. We'll keep the size 32 for now. We might actually zoom it in or something if it looks better. There's not going to be any offset. So it just leaves the X position, which will start out at the far right. Again, minus 32, so there's room to draw it. And then we shift it 32 each time through the loop. What are our constants for the window size? Oh, it's part of UI. These all need to be int 32s. Okay. Now it's happy. Let's see what that does. See what happens. All right, got a helmet. Got a sword. That's not exactly what we wanted to do, is it? First of all, we don't want to be picking them up anymore. That was just a test, so let's not do that anymore. This is our pickup code. And then at the bottom right wasn't meant to show our inventory, but to show what we're standing on top of. And of course, we're looking at the wrong items list. We should be looking at level.items of the player's position. All right, now when we're on top of the helmet, we see it, and it goes away. Okay. And then just to test, that multiple things work. We kind of did on accident with that bug. Let's go to load levels. And we're going to put a helmet on the same tile as the sword. I also want to see what it draws. It'll be interesting. All right, that works well enough. One will be on top of the other just based on the order in the slice. And then we see both down here. So that's pretty cool. That's some good programmer art UI. So the next step will be having a way to click on these to move them into your inventory, or possibly keystroke combinations or something. So one common keystroke in RPGs is just to take everything. So why don't we start with that? Because doing turning these into buttons might be like a whole episode of its own. So let's start and see if we can do like a take all command, where if you hit T, it'll take all the items that you're on top of and put them in your inventory. So let's give that a try. Okay, so our game has input types. So we're going to add one. Take all. And then for the UI, we'll say if you press T, then we'll send take all. And this really should be else ifs, I think. I think Go requires your else ifs go like this. By the way, some of the rules that Go has about how curly braces work are related to the fact that it does not require semicolons. It's partially an artifact of that. It's not just people being opinionated. Okay, so take all. We're gonna have to do something with it when the game gets that input. Handle input. So case. Take all. So probably what we'll do here is for so we get the slice of items at the player's position and iterate over each one. And then we call level dot move item and move each one into the player's character. Oh. capital P player. Okay. And then just for debugging, we'll print out let's just draw the player's inventory somehow. How should we do that? Or you know what, we can just put it into, what we'll do is each time you pick something up, we'll put it into the event system. So we'll say on move item, well, other thing we can do here is once we find the item that we're moving, we can quit. And if we ever get here, something has gone wrong. We should never call that. So we'll panic. Okay, but if we do move an item, then we want to take the level add event. And we'll say player, and we'll say player's name, right? Player dot character. Picked up item dot name. Okay, we'll try T. All right, go man, picked up a helmet. Now we got another helmet and a sword down there. Picked up sword, picked up helmet. Okay. That's pretty good. We have a rudimentary UI showing what you can pick up and picking it up. Our player has an inventory, but we don't have any way to visualize it yet. And we can move things around. Pretty cool. We got 10 minutes. Let's try one more aspect of this. Let's give the monsters an inventory. We'll say we'll just do sword. We don't have time to go through the whole texture atlas. So we'll just give the rat will inexplicably have a sword for now. This could just be a blank position because it's not going to matter. Okay, so now we need to see when the monster dies. Where do we actually do that? Where do we do monster death? Okay, we do it here. So what we'll probably want to do is make a function for deleting and killing monsters. So we'll do we don't want to start having like tons of code in the middle of here that's going to correspond with killing a monster, so we'll just make a function. So we'll set it up this way. So this removes it from the map in the game of monsters. But we're also going to want to dump the monster's items onto its current position. So we will say, let's see, for item. So we get the list of items currently at that position on the map that the monster is on. Just do that outside the loop, actually. And then we keep adding to it. So we'll say ground items equals append ground items item. And also each item's position needs to be set to the monster's current position. This will need a reference to the level. That's just M. Okay. Oh. Again. I've forgotten to do that. Okay. Okay, set the item position, and then at the end, we need to update the map with the new slice. Pass it the current level. Okay, so now when we kill our rat, there's a sword, and we can take it. All right. We have the beginnings of a working inventory system. Lots of stuff still to do, but that's a good start. Okay, we're getting to the end. I'm gonna hang on for 5 more minutes in case there's any questions about tonight's stream or any previous streams. Any questions at all, fire away. I'm going to go ahead and remove the rat having a sword, since that was just to test the idea. In fact, that'll be a good test. Does it work if... Yeah. Okay, so looks like there's no questions. I think next time we'll work on expanding the inventory system. So we'll need some way for the player to see what they've got and drop things that they don't want anymore. We'll have some kind of limit on how many things you can hold. And then after that, we'll have some way for you to equip or use items. So that the sword can make you hit harder and so on. And one option is these tiles have some characters, like all these guys, are designed in such a way that you can put these clothes and weapons, you just overlay it on top, and they all match up. So like, see, they'll be holding the spear. The spear like lines up with their hand, and the shields line up and the clothes line up. So we can play with that. That'd be pretty fun because it makes your character actually reflects what items they're holding, which could be cool. So we might play with that too. All right. Good night, everyone, and I'll see you on Tuesday.